Well, hey, everybody, it's Pastor Martin. Grateful to have you joining me tonight. Thank you so much for joining me on this late Thursday night. Want to just talk with you for a minute and share with you tonight, real brief. When these things hit me, I just sort of come on, I guess. But anyway, just want to share with you. Of course, we're going to talk about very briefly. Let me jump right into it. Don't leave the room. Stay at the table. Well, when I started looking at this and thinking about it, it really sort of hit me that we've got to stay at the table, and do do what we got to do. One of the things is I got a chance to look at a video that came across, and when the video came across, I just sort of looked at it very brief, but I saw somebody talking about I just stormed out of the room. I got upset and I left the room. So that sort of caught my attention. So I started looking at it just to see exactly what they were talking about or what they were mentioning and what they were in reference to. And they said they had a meeting. A young man got killed in Omaha, I believe, at Nebraska, and 22-year-old. And they had a meeting with the governor, the police chief, and some other faith leaders and some other people. And so they went into the room, a conference room, and they were talking. And I guess the governor made a statement when he said the problem that I have with you people. And so they took that as a racist statement, jumped up and just ran out the room, and then took to social media and said, I need y'all to make this go viral. I need y'all to make this go viral because of what the governor said. He said, you people. And they were upset by the statement he made of you people. Well, I started thinking about that, and this is in no ways to condemn that person's decision that walked out of the room if that's what they wanted to do. I think that is, if that's what they wanted to do, then that's what they felt they needed to do. But I wanted to just present a different perspective of that as we look at it, just to take a look at that. Because of the governor's statement, I think he's since apologized and about the statement. I think he's a Republican or whatever, and he apologized about the statement. Of course, he's Caucasian. He apologized and said he didn't know about being offensive or whatever, however it went. But anyway, I want to get back to the point of leaving the room. We fight so much and we work so hard for a space at the table, a space to get in the room. Sometimes we complain that we don't have a space at the table. They won't let us in the room. They won't let us be a part of negotiations and things that we should do. They say, well, we fussing. A lot of the protests and stuff is that we won't change. We're sick of injustice. We're sick of not being treated fairly. So how do we get there? We get a space at the table, or we get a space in the room, which everyone does not get. And so to be invited into a meeting, to be invited into the table, at the table, in the room, to be invited in is something that we should not just take for granted. If they invite us in, we should use that moment. So we work hard to get a space at the table. And not only the table, but we work hard to get invited to the room. Sometimes when we get invitations, when we get calls, sometimes they call because either they've seen something or we've got some knowledge of stuff, and they just don't do it. But we've got that invitation. So whenever you get an invitation to anything, it is a responsibility. If you're going to use that particular platform to get some things done, then we take advantage of that. So we work hard to get space at the table. We get invited into the room. Now, let me say to you that when you get invited into the room, when you get a space at the table, here's something that I want to stress tonight to you. And that is, you must have tough skin. if you're going to be invited. You've got to have tough skin if you're going into the table, if you're going to negotiate, if you're going to talk, if you're going to be a representative of the people and a representative to bring about change. You've got to have tough skin. You've got to know how to deal with offensive words. You've got to know that there will be some things that you will not like. Some things will be said or done that we won't appreciate. But if you're going to be if you want to be at the table, if you want to be in the room, then you're going to have tough skin. Dr. King and those that marched, Dr. Ralph Abernathy and Andrew Young and different ones, they were at the table, but the thing was, they made their way and they didn't have walkouts. They had sit-ins that made change. They had tough skins. They had to have tough skins to be called the names they were called. They had to have tough skins to be beat. They had to have tough skin to go through the stuff they went through, to have dogs sicked on them and water hose put on them, to be beaten with blackjacks. They had to have tough skin. And if you don't have tough skin, then you really don't need to be in the room. If you don't have tough skin, you don't even need to be at the table, because there are going to be some offensive things that people will say, some of them out of ignorance, and some of them, they know what they're saying, but you've got to have tough skin. And I want you to understand, with all the stuff we're doing in protesting, if you don't have tough skin, if you can't take it, if you can't take an offensive word, if you can't take a word like "you people," definitely you can't take a word if they use the N word. You won't be able to deal with it. So you've got to understand that when we start dealing with this, we're dealing with it from a perspective of something different, and we start dealing with this. So let's look at this again and just sort of say to ourselves as we're looking, do I have tough skin? I'm in the room. Is my skin tough enough? I'm at the table. Is my skin tough enough? I mean, if you don't have tough skin, then why are you in there? You getting offended about one thing, and there's worse that can be said and probably will be said, and you got to have tough skin. Sometimes you got to be able to sit there and take it, because the purpose is not me being offended. The purpose is not my feelings being hurt, but the purpose is to bring about change. And so when we leave the room, we talk about leaving the room. I just got up and I left. You got to understand, and let me say this to go along with tough skin. They will say offensive things to get you to leave the room. You got to know that. Sometimes people will say offensive things to get you to leave the room because they know you don't have tough skin. They know if they say one thing, you're going to get up and storm out. And then what you have done when you storm out, I storm out, we have left the table of change. We've left the place where we can voice our opinion, to do stuff and to say the things we need to say, but you can't say it outside the room and out and away from the table if you had a space there. Sometimes that disqualifies you in a way from doing the things you need to do. So sometimes you got to stay at the table and not let everything offend you. You just can't do that. You can't let everything offend you, because sometimes I found out people will say stuff when they know they can push your buttons. They will say stuff. One thing I have to say, and you may not agree, but one thing I have to say about the president, that President Trump, is that most people, they haven't figured him out. And what they haven't figured out about President Trump is that President Trump loves confrontation. So the more you say stuff, the more he's going to get on Twitter. The more you call him names, he's going to get on to say stuff. He don't care nothing about all that stuff. What you saying, it gives him fuel. And then he takes that and he fuels his base and gets his base to say stuff and do stuff. Why? Because he loves that. That's his place. That's his playground. That's his home court. He loves to do it. He's been doing it so long. He's become somewhat of a master of it, and he gets exactly what he wants from most of us, and that is a response. He gets exactly what he wants from us, and I said again, that is a response. He gets a response. So what happens when they say offensive things? They say offensive things to get you to leave the room. And when we leave the room, we talk among ourselves, or we take to social media and we do different things, but it don't always do the things we need to do. So leaving the room, when you leave the room, what good does it do when we leave the room? I'm just saying, what good does it do when we just leave the room? For the purpose we went in the room in the first place was to have dialogue, a confrontation, or whatever you want to call it. Now we've just jumped up and we left the room and just left out. Okay, so now we got that. So we just walked out. And so I've just stopped on this brief time I'm talking to you to tell you, don't leave the room. Don't walk out. What we should do is let it be a teachable moment while we're at the table. Now, the governor, I don't know what he meant when he said you people. I remember Ross Perot, late Ross Perot, said the same thing when he was running president years ago, you people. And there are other people that refer to that all the time, you people. It could be a racist statement. It could be something that they don't. I don't know. I'm not here to defend one way or the other on that. But I'm just saying, when they say you people, instead of, I'm just saying what I probably would have done. I know me. I wouldn't have left the room and then went to social media and tell y'all to make it go viral. I would have said to the governor, all due respect, Mr. Governor, but I need to understand when you say you people, what are you referring to and who are you referring to? Now, that's what I would have said. Now, I'm not condemning anybody else that didn't do it, but I'm just saying you don't miss a teachable moment. You don't miss a moment to bring about correction, even to those that are in power. We learn to deal with those in power and to bring about teachable moments where we don't have to be disrespectful, but we put them on notice to give us explanations or give us, what do you mean by you people? That's what we do. We learn to take this thing to the high places of power and we say something to them. We don't go out, because going out talking among ourselves most of the time is not going to get it done. We've got to be able, in that teachable moment, in that narrow open door, say to the governor, all due respect, sir, but what do you mean by you people? When you say you people, who are you referring to? Who are you talking about? Are you talking about blacks, whites, Mexicans? I mean, who are you talking about when you say you people? When you say that, that's our opportunity to say to the governor or anybody else. When you say that, it makes me feel that you're putting some at me a certain kind of way. And I need to understand. Sometimes what it'll do, it'll help people not to make that statement or comment again. Or sometimes if you do it and have a teachable moment and correct it, what ends up doing is sometimes they may do it again, but one thing they'll never do, they won't do it in your presence. I've had those moments when I had teachable moments when somebody said something, I corrected them right then and never heard those phrases or terminologies or whatever again. Why? Because I use it as a teachable moment right then, not waiting later and then going around telling everybody. No, teach them then. That's your opportunity. You at the table. They invited you. You at the table. You in the room. Take that teachable moment and say to those in power, this is what I mean. And this is what I think about what you just said. That's how we do that. If we don't do that, we don't just leave the room. We stay in the room. I got an invitation to be here. And you knew when you invited me that I was going to be vocal and say some stuff. And so I don't plan on leaving this room until I speak for myself and for those I represent. And that's how you've got to do that. So my thing again is don't leave the table, stay in the room. Don't get up and just leave and go. You got to stay there. If we're going to do that, we got to stay where we can talk, where we can go. Somebody said, well, they're not listening. At least if they didn't listen, at least I was in the room and told them. They can never say that it wasn't brought to their attention. They can never say that it wasn't said. But outside of the room, it's not going to be. I mean, I'm outside and saying stuff that they may hear and they may not hear. But it's nothing like face-to-face conversation. Talk to them face-to-face. Say it to them face-to-face. I ain't got to say this behind your back. Mr. Governor, I don't appreciate what you just said. I know you the governor, but I don't appreciate it. So I'm here to say to you in front of everybody in the room that is an offensive statement to me. That's how you deal with that. Just jumping up, leaving the room will never get it done. You just can't leave the room and then get upset. I mean, that makes no sense. Stay in the room, stay there and talk, get it done. Don't leave the room, stay at the table. Let's keep talking. And that's in everything. That's not just in this thing with George Floyd, but this is at your workplace, your church, your organizations, whatever. When people do stuff, don't leave it undone and don't correct it. I had someone, and I'm through with this. I had someone recently that made a statement and said that I had promised something or said something, and I didn't. I kept thinking. I said I don't remember that, and so I let it for about a week. I just trying to cover to make sure that it was something that I didn't promise or say. And once I came to the conclusion that I didn't, then I called that individual and I said to them, we need to have a conversation about what you said. And I never said that, neither did I promise that. And, that's sort of how I do stuff. I'm not a person that I don't need a lot of people going around talking for me. I'm getting older and my tolerance level sometimes for craziness is not good. And I just say it, I don't have to wait and wonder what I'm thinking I'm going to say it to you. So I just said, I didn't. And we resolved that. But you've got to be able to do that. You just don't storm out and be mad for weeks and months and never get it resolved. Learn how to confront. You don't have to be fighting to confront, but you got to stay at the table. You don't do that. You mean, you running from the table and the governor, he called us you people, and I just got up and walked out. And what did it do? What was accomplished by you walking out? Most people are not going to talk about this because most people are afraid, to say stuff. Again, I'm not worried about that. What did you accomplish by walking out? I know sometimes you have to walk out, but again, if you don't have tough skin, if you can't deal with you people, you definitely can't deal with the other stuff they call us. And so we got to do better. Stay in the room. Don't leave the room. Stay at the table. Let's keep talking. Let's keep, demonstrating. But then do yourself a favor. You don't like it and you really want some change. When November get here, the same energy that we put in with being offended by stuff and the same energy we put in with this other stuff, when November comes, don't let rain, sleet, snow, nothing keep you from getting to the polls. Make sure you're registered to vote. Go vote, and vote not only in demonstration and protesting, but vote in vote change with the power of what you do. You got to vote change. You can't change ain't coming because they offended you. I hate to keep repeating this, but folk will say stuff to offend you because they know you're going to walk out. And then this is what they get to use. I invited them in. I invited them to the table and they walked out. Now, you know what they get to say? I'm not obligated to invite them to the table anymore. I'm not obligated to invite them in the room anymore. Sometimes we give them an excuse that they wouldn't have had not we just got up and stormed out. Hey, Pastor Johnson, we need to know who to vote for. That's right. If you don't know who to vote for, because everybody's got ads. I've been looking at ads. I voted yesterday. We got ads that's coming up. And I mean, these are ads. Some people I don't even know who they are. They may have good things, but they just coming on the scene when it's time to vote. And there was a lot of names on the ballot. I mean, just a lot of things. You have to take time and read that stuff. Just don't go to pushing. Read it, because whoever you vote is going to affect not only us now, but it will affect our children later. And so I say to you, Dr. King them didn't walk out because they got offended. They sat in. They sat at the counter. They sat at the table. Said, y'all can put us out if you want to, but we're going to stay here till change come. We don't walk out. Not going nowhere. I'm going to stay here. You invited me, and I plan on speaking and saying something. My voice is going to be heard. And so I want to encourage you as I leave you tonight. Thank y'all for joining me so late. Please share it with somebody. I'm in the room. That's got to be our attitude. I'm in the room. I'm at the table. And guess what? I'm not leaving the table or the room. You invited me. And now since I'm here, I'm going to say that I think. We're going to speak to power. We're going to say the things that are right and the things we need to say to those we need to say them to. Because sometimes we're talking to people that don't have the power to make a change. We need to deal with people that when they invite us, they got the power to make it. And let's tell them what's on our mind. And don't be scared. Don't be out there hemming and hawing like that. No, just come straight out and say what you need to say. One thing that I love about, and I'm through, I loved about the late Bishop Chandler David Owens when he came to Georgia years ago. Bishop Owens was a man that he was just straightforward. He didn't, he just told you how he felt. I remember we were out eating one time and a group of preachers, and someone asked him, they said, Bishop Owens, can I ask you a question? He said, sure. And the person started talking, and Bishop stopped him in the middle. He said, no. You said you want to ask me a question. You are now making a statement. And so he was sort of like that kind of person. And watching him for so many years, he was just straightforward. He didn't do that. He just came straight out. And you can see this clip online somewhere where he was talking about the governor came and they came and sent him a note and said, the politician is here, the governor is here. And while he was at the mic, he said, well, I'll get to the governor in a minute, but tell the governor now I am now talking about his governor. And he will have to wait till I'm finished talking about his governor. And so that's the kind of stuff we need. We need people that are not afraid to say what you have to say. But you can't wear your feelings up here on your shoulders. If you invited into the room, you got to know some stuff will be said you don't appreciate. But I'm in the room and my feelings are not on my shoulder. I came to stay in this room. Thank y'all so much for joining me. I pray and trust that. Thank you. Please share this with somebody. Let's keep pressing. Let's keep fighting. Let's keep doing what we do. If you invited to the room, no matter where it is, government, your church, denomination, your job, or whatever, you got a seat at the table. They invited you into the room. You even got your name in front of you. They put it there. Don't be scared. This is your opportunity. Never miss a teachable moment. Never miss a time to bring about correction and teach them. And if you do it, they may never tell you, but they will always respect you for your stance and what you said. May God bless you, and may all God's best be yours.